Law enforcement recruits were injured after an SUV swerved into them, leaving several critically injured.
A historic rocket launches, paving the way for NASA's return to the moon for the first time in half a century.
And rivalry is in the air at USC. Find out how Trojans are sticking to it in the Bruin Bears.
Annenberg TV News is next.
We begin with breaking news. Los Angeles officially has a new mayor. Karen Bass becomes the first woman to serve as the city's mayor and only the second black person to do so. Hi, I'm Maya Mari Vinnett.
And I'm Eric Euban Choi. Bass was endorsed by nearly all major figures in the Democratic Party, including President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and former President Barack Obama.
Bass leads Caruso by more than 46,000 votes, opening up at a 53 to 47% advantage. Some members of LA government have come out to show their support for the city and for Karen Bass. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson tweeted, quote, "Sometimes I feel like I can't love the city any more than I do. And then people show up and do this. Congratulations, Mayor Karen Bass."
Moving now to the city of South Whittier, about 22 miles southeast of USC. Reporter Michael Mellinger takes the scene of a crash that injured dozens of LA's sheriff cadets.
Investigators combed through debris from a crash this morning where a driver struck a group of sheriff's cadets on a run around 6:30 a.m. Some remain at local hospitals with critical injuries. A local resident spoke about what she observed when the crash happened.
My mom was the one to hear the big bang that fell, I guess the pole that fell on the floor. And then she just, after that, we heard helicopters, ambulance, fire department, firefighters. Yeah, so it was sad. It was very sad.
Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva spoke to the media this morning about today's incident.
As a result of that, 25 recruits were injured, and 16 were minor injuries. 4 of them were moderate, they're in stable condition, and 5 of them were in critical condition.
Behind me is the scene of this morning's accident where an individual driving an SUV crashed into a group of about 20 sheriff deputy cadets. Investigators remain on site and are working to determine what happened.
So we're waiting to hear more from the CHP as they do their investigation, and now we're just facing some life-altering injuries from some most severely injured recruits.
The driver, who is in custody, hit the cadets across from a nearby school, causing the school to close.
It's heartbreaking because I have family members who are sheriffs, so knowing what they went through, it's terrible.
If it happened an hour earlier or an hour later, those could have been our students. So, it hits home, definitely hits home.
Governor Newsom released a statement about today's accident, reading in part, "Our hearts are with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's recruits injured this morning while training to serve their communities." In his update to the media this morning, Sheriff Villanueva noted that neither the cause nor the motive of the accident was known. Several recruits still remain at local hospitals, including USC Medical Center. For Annenberg Media, I'm Michael Mellinger.
It's day 3 of the UC academic workers' strike. 48,000 academic workers are demanding better pay and living conditions. Annenberg Media learned that bargaining for public transit passes has begun, but bargaining for better wages has not. Members of the strike emphasized that the University of California is the #1 public university in the state, and it needs to live up to that ranking.
I believe that higher education should be accessible to everyone. My mom never finished college despite being one of the smartest people I know. I know how proud she was that I not only was able to finish college, but go on to, get a doctorate. I can only do that if I can afford to live here. And the wages that the university is paying us at the moment simply are not enough to live in the most expensive state in the country.
UC administrators have proposed mediation between the university and the unionized workers to reach a resolution.
Top Biden administration officials joined former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Proposition 49.
For every dollar we spend on an after-school program, we save $3 down the line. So it's not spending, we are talking here about investing.
What happened here 20 years ago was a commitment to the students of California, and we're seeing the results of that. Engaging every student across the country is everyone's job, not just the state or not just the federal government.
Prop 49 passed in 2002 and was implemented in 2006. The proposition dedicated nearly $7 billion to after-school education programs across the state. Officials from the Department of Education say they want similar programs nationwide. California has continued to pass measures to boost educational funding. Recently passed Proposition 28 will boost spending on school arts programs. Admissions deadlines for many universities, including USC, are approaching. Students will have more factors than just their application materials to consider as they prepare for this admission cycle. A political anchor, Gabriella, has more on the story.
Thank you, Eric. High school seniors and graduate students are gearing up to apply to colleges and universities, for some as the first in their family, and for others continuing a legacy of scholarship. Although highly qualified, many underprivileged students will be denied access and equal opportunity by a merit-based education system meant to support them. Georgetown University professor Mark Rome says that a student's race and economic status impact the schools they're accepted into.
Tests are linked to your family's income and socioeconomic status. It's not pure meritocracy. It's in some ways, an aristocracy. So if your family has wealth, if your family has privilege, then you're more likely to have these higher test scores. That's clearly not a metric that provides equitable access for all Americans.
Family income and wealth determine whether certain resources are accessible to a student and contribute to factors like your GPA, SAT scores, and extracurricular activities, all key components to be considered by a university. This further exacerbates inequality because many minority and low-income students struggle to meet the threshold for educational standards like test scores despite their hard work. Shifting gears now, former President Donald Trump officially launched his third campaign for the White House. He announced his intent to run for re-election in 2024 at his Mar-a-Lago estate last night.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
The twice impeached president is under investigation for espionage and his alleged involvement in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. We asked USC students how they feel about Trump's announcement in light of the recent investigations.
I hope people think critically about those issues because I know that it's really hard, especially for some far-right supporters, to really be swayed on those type of issues.
I'm pretty confident within our generation, I think. We have a broader perspective of just like life and politics.
The public should be more mistrusting of him, given that there's proof of him lying. His following is so strong and so under a spell that in reality it probably won't affect it that much.
Only one president, Grover Cleveland, served 2 non-consecutive terms more than a century ago. I'm Darielle Fair, and this is your Political Pulse.
Thanks, Darielle. The Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors has voted to establish an Office for Environmental Justice and Climate Change. Researchers found that LA is the city with the most toxic air quality in the U.S., with nearly 1,500 deaths occurring annually. They estimate more than 3,000 people are expected to be hospitalized because of illnesses caused by air pollution. Supervisor Janice Hahn explains how toxic air especially affects marginalized communities.
Low-income communities and communities of color across the county have borne the brunt of toxic pollution and the negative effects of local industries for decades. That is true whether you're talking about the diesel death zone around our ports or the low-income communities with oil and gas drills in their backyards.
Supervisors want the new department to not only take actions in the event of environmental hazards, but also help keep regulators and industries accountable. A spokesperson for a local environmental group shares their hopes for the new office.
We're hoping this office brings in community experts, gives community members a seat at the table, and allows them to really decide what happens after phase out, what happens after other harmful operations are removed from communities. It's one thing to set up an office, but it's another to maintain that really close connection between community members and local government.
The board is calling for a director to be appointed within 30 days to begin developing the department and tackling heat-related and climate change-related issues.
3, 2, 1.
NASA's Artemis I moon mission blasted off this morning from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The spacecraft wasn't manned, but it does have a special mannequin on board to test the effects of space travel on the human body. For young scientists, the launch lays the foundation for future space exploration.
When it comes to deep space exploration, it's really hard to launch things directly out of our atmosphere. So it's the idea of come on, we got to push out more, be able to have more space launch systems, be able to explore more terrains, get more devices out there beyond just our atmosphere.
Artemis I is the first of 3 phases of NASA's new lunar exploration project. In 2024, a second mission will orbit the moon with 4 astronauts on board. And in 2025, NASA says Artemis III will put humans back onto the moon for the first time in 50 years.
The USC Helens are on the heck of a watch. See how they're making the most of their stay in the village.
Food insecurity poses a threat to thousands in Los Angeles. Trojans are working to make sure fewer Angelinos go hungry this holiday season.
And the LA Dodgers are giving back to the city's unhoused population ahead of Thanksgiving.
Worried your friend's struggling but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could write them a text or knit them a sweater. If you can't be together, you could write them a letter. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch. However you do it, you gotta ask a friend. And if they don't share, you can ask again. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking.
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight, both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back, because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Rivalry Week is here. Reporter Justin Hyo is live at the USC Village where the Hellenes have been busy guarding the Hecuba statue and more.
Thank you, Maya. I'm coming to you live from the Village where the USC Hellenes have set up Hecuba's Watch. The Hellenes have been guarding the statue all week, and as part of their annual celebrations, they're also holding a flea market. This rack of clothing over here isn't just for the Hellenes to wear, but for fellow Trojans to buy. All clothes sold for $5 or less. This event began at 9 a.m. and will continue until 7 p.m. The low price attracts students passing by to fill up their closets. All proceeds from the sale will go to the Student Coalition Against Labor Exploitation.
It's a good thing that they're doing not only for themselves, reselling their clothes, but it's also a good thing for the earth, and I think it's building some moral standards. And I just think it's a really good ethical option to do this, and it's really cheap, which is good for other people as well. So I really admire it.
You still have a little more than an hour to stop by the Hellenes Flea Market. For Annenberg Media, I'm Justin Hyo, and back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Justin. It's great to know what's going on at the Village with the flea market, but I want to know what's going on with this weather. Mariela?
Thank you, Maya. Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be back. Last week, the fall sniffles hit me a little hard, but I am healthy and in the studio now, ready to give you the most up-to-date weather forecast for your week ahead. So let's get into it. Current conditions right over here, we are currently at 69 degrees with 60% humidity. Yesterday around this time, we were experiencing some very high winds, and earlier this morning, they still continued. Some areas are experiencing winds over 60 miles per hour, and they will diminish in the next few days. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. So Thursday, that we have a high of 74 with the low of 47. Again, we are staying in those 40s throughout the week. Friday, we have a high of 71 with the low of 48. And Saturday, the most anticipated day of the week because the Trojans are taking on the Bruins on the football game. We are looking at a comfortable weather of a high of 72 with the low of 49. And finishing off your week, Sunday and Monday, we are in the 70s with the low of 45 on Sunday and a low of 48 on Monday. That is all I have for you today. Now I cannot stop thinking about Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving dinner. So Julia, what do you have cooking up for us today?
Well, Mariella, here's some food for thought. I appreciate the dining halls as much as the next gal, but Thanksgiving break is right around the corner. And for college students, there's nothing more exciting than the idea of homemade food. We spoke to Trojans about the meals they're looking forward to eating over the break.
I don't like turkey, unpopular opinion, don't cancel me. So I usually make ribs with my mom. I'm Mexican, so we have like tamales.
We have like 2 or 3 turkeys, 40 or 50 people come down. My grandmother has this like famous cranberry sauce.
Low-key stuffing for me.
Honestly, the stuffing and gravy is always my favorite.
Cranberry sauce. I'll eat it with a spoon.
According to the U.S. Poultry and Egg Association, 46 million turkeys are eaten on Thanksgiving every year. That's a lot of birds, but these meals don't just feed hungry college students. Food has the power to unite and connect us, according to USC Annenberg professor Jennifer Floto.
It's an art to it. So everybody kind of gets involved in the preparation and the delivery of the meal, and you're passing platters around. You're interacting with one another rather than somebody brings the food out from the kitchen, plops the plate in front of you, and you start eating. Right? It's very, very unifying.
Professor Floto says that Friendsgiving is a great alternative for college students who can't make it home for Thanksgiving. But students aren't just celebrating themselves this Thanksgiving. Let's toss it over to Eric for more.
Thanks, Julia. Some USC students are making sure those in need will have a warm meal for Thanksgiving. The student group Trojan Shelter held a Thanksgiving food drive in the village this afternoon. Their mission is to help end college homelessness. One of the presidents of the organization shared why it's so important to give back to the community.
This is our first food drive of the year, but next semester we definitely plan on doing more food drives throughout the months. During the holiday season, I feel like having a home-cooked meal can be hard for some people, and just like knowing that our residents have the support that Trojan Shelter gives, I think is super important.
Just over 24% of households were considered food insecure in July 2022. 42% of participants in USC's survey reported buying less food to save money. That's all the news that we've got for the food drive. We're going to toss it over to sports with Carlo and Joey to hear more about the UCLA rivalry games.
Thanks so much, Eric. USC gears up for its crosstown showdown. We look at the stars who need UCLA to topple the Trojans. And does USC have a chance to make the playoff? All that and more coming up next on Sports.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah. Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows? Maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Slovis taking a shot to the end zone.
Yes, indeed, it is rivalry week. Happy Conquest Week, USC Trojans. My name is Joey Elbaum. Welcome back to ATVN Sports. Carlo, can you please tell me what is at stake for these Trojans coming into this game this week?
I'd love to, Joey. Round 92 of USC UCLA has more at stake than just the crosstown showdown. For the Trojans, a chance at postseason glory is in jeopardy. With a win, USC can advance to the Pac-12 championship for the first time since 2017. A win over a ranked opponent on the road for the first time since 2016 is also an opportunity for the Trojans, and they can bust out the sandpaper and repaint that bell.
Now, you know the importance of the game, but how did the rivals from the West get here? Although ranked 16th now, the Bruins came out the gates roaring this season. They were ranked 9th just a few weeks ago. The Bruins won their first 6 games, one of which was against now 10th ranked Utah, who gave USC their only loss of the season. The Blue and Gold's first loss of the season came on the road to a competitive ranked Oregon team. UCLA was upset last week by Arizona, so they're even hungrier for a win in the battle for the victory bell.
Yeah, this is my going on my 5th year here being with this rivalry. I obviously know it's at stake, trying to teach my younger teammates the tradition and everything that goes along into this game. Obviously, we hate those guys across town. There's a bitter feeling with those guys.
2 of the highest scoring teams in the nation, it is time to learn what makes these Bruins so unbearable. It's time to meet the opponent. Carlo, tell me about the player all too familiar with both USC and Lincoln Riley.
I see what you did there, Joey. The man who signed a USC fan's hat last year in the Coliseum is my player to watch. In his 5th year, DTR is having his best year in blue and gold. He is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the nation, ranking 3rd in completion percentage. What's more, when DTR sees those Cardinal and gold helmets, he is a different beast. The super senior averages over 300 passing yards, more than 100 rushing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns when he faces USC. Lincoln Riley has played against DTR when he was coaching at Oklahoma. Riley spoke about facing the headman for the Bruins.
He's a good player. This might be, I think it's the 3rd time I've played against him. Been around a while. God, he's been there forever. It's a very confident player. You can tell he knows what he wants to do with the football.
Joey, we know about the captain of the ship, but who else matters for UCLA?
Well, yeah, Carlo, this UCLA Bruin offense is nothing without the nation's leader in all-purpose yards, running back Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet, who was named one of the 22 players in contention for the Walter Camp College Player of the Year award, has an opportunity to rip through the Trojans' defense. The senior back has rushed for at least 1 touchdown in every Pac-12 game this season. He became the 9th Bruin to surpass the 1,000-yard rushing mark after his 181-yard, 3-touchdown performance against Arizona. Oh, and also, Charbonnet has only rushed for under 100 yards once. He's rushed for over 150 yards in his last 4 games.
He's just a complete back. They have a good offense. They're dynamic, and the way that the running back can run, it creates a lot of problems for defenses. And we're definitely going to be sound in the run and pass game and just do our job.
If there's one Bruin the Trojans need to watch, it's the ground and pound grizzly, Zach Charbonnet.
Well, now that you know who to look out for, it's time for us to make our picks. Joey, why don't you come on over here and join me? USC, UCLA, 5 o'clock, sold-out Rose Bowl. Who's coming home with a win?
Oh, it's a big one for both teams. A win, at the end of the day, ultimately brings the team to the Pac-12 championship. At the end of the day, I'm taking USC. It'll be a tough one. No Travis Dye, and at the other end, Zach Charbonnet, as I just talked about, is coming out hot. But the run defense has got to step up. USC's hungry. They have a chance to make it even farther this season, which we'll talk about later. I'm going to USC. What about you?
Well, I appreciate the optimism, but I think I'm going to have to go with the Bruins simply because USC has struggled to tackle in its last 4 games, and that Zach Charbonnet, he can really run. USC is going to come home with an L.
Well, I guess we'll have to see on Saturday in Pasadena. But as Carlo mentioned earlier, a win on Saturday sends USC to the Pac-12 championship. However, USC's road does not necessarily end there. With 2, potentially 3 ranked matchups on the horizon, USC's college football playoff hopes are all but lost. If the Trojans win on Saturday, they are guaranteed to play in the Pac-12 championship. A ranked win against UCLA, in addition to a must-win game against number 18 Notre Dame, would leave USC sitting at 11-1. An additional ranked win from the Pac-12 title game, and the Trojans could see themselves playoff bound. Now, who USC would play in the Pac-12 title is yet to be decided, and factors outside of USC's control will ultimately decide whether the Trojans are a top 4 team going into the bowl season. And that's all the time we have today on sports. It's a big week, but we're going to pass it back over to Eric to talk to us about the Dodgers Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Joey. The LA Dodgers Foundation is partnering with LA County to serve Thanksgiving meals to the homeless ahead of this holiday season. The Dodgers held their first food giveaway today in Venice. For the past 17 years, the team has provided turkeys to local communities during the holiday season. So far this year, the Boys in Blue have donated $30,000 to charities with the goal of providing food for Angelinos in need.
So coming out here and seeing how much of a need this really is to people, and seeing how much of a smile puts on their faces to get a nice warm meal and get a full course meal, to me that means a lot.
Anytime we can get exposure like this out in the community of places of need, it's really important.
I'm laughing and having fun, and I'm genuinely enjoying it, right? And I put smiles on people's faces, and just to show them that I'm just a goofy kid too.
The Dodgers will hold another Thanksgiving drive this Friday. It's happening at Allerton Sutton Recreation Center in South LA.
And back at home, USC continues its rivalry week traditions by giving the students a chance to face a Bruin bear.
Lávate las manos por 20 segundos como Elmo.
Hay algo especial acerca de este lugar. Se siente como un hogar, una sala debajo del cielo y los árboles. Rodeado de aire fresco y la naturaleza. Todo aquí para que lo disfrutemos y para que lo cuidemos. Tenemos la responsabilidad de cuidar de esta tierra que llamamos casa, de preservarla para las generaciones que vienen. Cada acción pequeña contribuye para un cambio mayor y cada uno de nosotros podemos hacer la diferencia. Hay algo especial acerca de este bosque. Es un lugar donde se hacen recuerdos y juntos podemos preservarla y protegerla.
The undergraduate student government's Trojan Pride branch sponsored Paya Bruin today in Hahn Plaza. Students lined up for their chance to take out rivalry week frustrations on the UCLA mascot. Paya Bruin is a part of a series of USC traditions intended to get students excited for Saturday's big game. We spoke to one person who embraces the event wholeheartedly.
It's one of the most phenomenal feelings to get the hands of all these Trojans on the Bruin Bear, because at the end of the day, who's the one fighting on? It's the Bruin Bear. Go Bruins!
Paya Bruin ended today, but Trojan Pride will be hosting a rally before the Conquest concert tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8:30. The group is also sponsoring a clothing drive that will be going on until Sunday. And go USC, go Rivalry Week. Thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everybody here at Annenberg Media, I'm Maya Mari Vinnett.
And I'm Eric Choi. We're off next week, but for more coverage, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Have a good night.